And our first plenary will be given by the recipient of the 2019 Ramón Margalef Award for Excellence in Education, Dr. David Fields. So this award recognizes excellence in teaching and mentoring by a scientist or educator in the fields of limnology and oceanography. David's receiving this award for his enthusiastic leadership and effusive commitment to developing transformative, hands-on marine science education programs and for creating opportunities for authentic science experiences for high school and college students of all backgrounds. David's a senior research scientist at the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences, which is a nonprofit research institute in coastal Maine. And as a zooplankton ecologist, he leads research on the physiology and global distribution of zooplankton. And for more than a dozen years, David's also led the innovative education programs that engage students and educators of all ages through unique programs that focus on experiential learning. David has developed Bigelow's Research Experience for Undergraduates program, also called REU, which has been funded by the National Science Foundation since 2008. This program's hosted about 150 undergraduate students since it began to come to Maine to do original research with Bigelow Labs scientists. And as lead PI of this highly competitive program, David is devoted to engaging students from all backgrounds, and about 1/3 of the program students have been underrepresented minorities and students from non-research institutions and community colleges. One innovative component of the RU program develops and refines students' presentation skills, and by the end of the program, students have a polished presentation. And many of those students then go on to present their projects at national and international scientific conferences. And David's really instrumental in making this happen by finding funding for the students, and more recently by coordinating an undergraduate research session at annual ASLO meetings, including at this meeting where several of his students are presenting their research. David also leads the field component of the Keller Bigelow Laboratory Orders of Magnitude program, which is also known as the Keller Bloom program, which has engaged nearly 200 high school students from rural areas of Maine in a week of hands-on ocean science research. And an extension of the program called Bloom Educators was developed by David to bring high school teachers the same experience, and more than 80 rural high school teachers have participated. So David's had a lasting impact on the overall education vision at Bigelow Lab by leading the development of an ambitious and comprehensive 5-year education plan, much of which has been realized and sets the stage for the Institute to take their education programs to a new level. Colleagues and former students remark on the unbounded energy, enthusiasm, and positivity that David brings to education, and making sure every student feels welcome and engaged in the educational experience that they have. He's clearly a talented, dedicated educator who is making a tangible impact. So please join me in congratulating David Fields.
Wow, it's daunting. That's a lot of people out there. I don't think I've ever spoken to so many people. Thanks for that kind introduction, for this amazing award, and for delivering it in Puerto Rico. I feel like I've won the trifecta. I mean, yeah, what a great honor. So thank you, all the students that showed up. I was hoping this wasn't gonna be an empty room. I think there's 237 of you and 27 teachers. Thank you guys for coming. So this first part is just a little bit like the Oscar Awards. I'm going to thank a lot of people, and then I'll get into something here. Thanks to Nick Record and Ben Twining for nominating me, and also those who wrote supporting letters. I didn't get to see those, but it sounds like it was pretty nice. But I bet Robert Mueller is going to want to be looking at these ballots after this little episode. Also want to recognize Nicole Polton, and I hope she's out here. Over the past 15 years, we've really collaborated on so many educational programs, experimenting with different ideas, funding sources, just trying to figure out how to reach different populations. She's a great collaborator, a gifted educator, and she's giving a talk tomorrow on one of our programs that you should go see. I believe it's at 4:30 tomorrow. Sorry, let me just move there. I also want to recognize some of the previous recipients of these awards. So this award has been around since 2009, so it's only been around for a decade. And there are some amazing, if I turn my head like this, can you still hear me? Yeah? There are some amazing educators on this board here, and it really is an honor to be added to that list. These guys should be honored every ASLO session. And finally, I want to make a nod to Margalef himself. So this award is named after a really outstanding educator, and he's just an academic giant. And getting this award is really humbling for me. But not only does he have an award named after him, but he also has a whole bunch of animals named after him. There are 18 in all, 18 little Margalef organisms that go from, on the top there, it's a copepod, a saltwater copepod. He's got a freshwater cladoceran, and he's got a yellow, beautiful orchid that's named after him. So in honor of that, throughout my slide, I'm going to put one of the little Margalef organisms in the corner of each one of my slides, and just so we acknowledge that what a contribution he made to this whole endeavor. The little organism that you see up there is an acarcia. This is a small copepod. It's about the length of thickness of your toenail. They're ubiquitous. This genus is ubiquitous across the planet. There are males and females, and they detect each other by these small mechanoreceptive hairs on their antenna. And this is a female, and you can see that from its expanded caudal region. They're beautiful animals to look at. And it brings me a lot of solace to know that there's a lot of little Margalef animals that are out there occupying the freshwater, the saltwater, and the terrestrial region. So this is where I'm from. I'm from Bigelow Labs. It was 5 degrees when I left. It's a small, you heard, a small nonprofit oceanographic institute. We're up on the coast of Maine. We have about 18 scientists, 20 postdocs, and we're a soft money institution. Interestingly, we don't have any resident student populations. And with that, we've created multiple hands-on, really fabulous experiential educational programs that bring in students from all over our community and from all over the globe. So this work has brought our labs and our microscopes to these one-room schoolhouses on the islands of Maine. And we sampled down, we sampled down on, actually, is this a better one to do? We sample in the water column, and we bring these young students out into the ocean, and these kind of experiences are immersive, and they're exhausting. And you can see that. There are students that are sleeping all over this place. But the core of our educational programs have 3 really simple core kind of tenets that we hold to. First, it has to have an immersive field component or lab component. It's clear that field and lab components complement any kind of schoolwork that they have. There have been some really excellent seminars here that talk about the value of bringing these things into the lab, or bringing students into the lab or into the field. We don't stage any of our labs or field experiences. It's always the real thing. It's very, it's always the real things, which makes it very exciting, and it makes it very valuable. All of our programs strive to have a diverse population, And again, there are some really great sessions that have happened here about increasing the diversity inside of your program. This is not a simple task in Maine. Maine has the dubious distinction of being one of the oldest states in the Union, or the oldest population, and the least diverse state in the Union. So we think that focusing on diversity not only helps the students coming to Maine, but we really think it helps our community to have smart, diverse population that are mixing in with the rest of the community in Maine. So finally, we try to make our programs free to participants. No housing costs, no travel costs, no tuition costs. It's always astounding to me that in the year 2019 that we still have financial barriers to education. And this is one way that we can give back to that. So we design our programs, our high school programs, to be free. Our undergraduate programs have a stipend associated with them. And that way that students can come and participate in these programs irregardless of their financial conditions. And this takes considerable... Oh. Yeah, I agree. This takes a lot of effort and philanthropy and grant writing. And we're at a small, private, nonprofit organization, and we have a philanthropic arm and a board that's been really dedicated to supporting these kind of programs. And so there's a lot of support out there for it, and I feel a lot of support for doing these kind of programs for that. All of our educational programs happen in the state of Maine and happen in the Gulf of Maine in particular. It's a highly productive ecosystem. This is a false color image down here, and the red is about 10 micrograms per liter of chlorophyll, and that stays very productive all the way out to the bank. The Gulf supports a booming lobster population. Everybody knows about Maine's lobsters, and actually great oysters now. And it also has an overexploited finfish population and an overexploited shrimp population. It's warming at an alarming rate. I mean, everybody's heard this, and I'm not going to give much lip service to it, except for the fact that the Gulf of Maine is warming really fast. We've shown a 5-degree anomaly in the Gulf of Maine over averages, the last 27-year averages, and this was seen in 2017 and also seen in 2016. And it is an alarming rate, and we're seeing that happen. So this attracts all of this good productivity, a lot of charismatic megafauna, including tourists, and the right whales come up and feed. We get puffins, we get a lot of seals, and it's really a magnificent place to engage yourself in studying these things. So the bulk of our studies are right on the mid-coast. So this is the Gulf of Maine. This is Puerto Rico down in here. We're way, way up here. Brr. And right here in the mid-coast regions, we have a couple of study sites, and we look at 2 different watersheds. This watershed on the Sheepscot River we've been looking at for 30 years through student educational programs. And this one on the Damerscott River we've been looking at for the past 10 years. And as these students collect the data and add to it, they've been seeing changes in the chlorophyll concentrations. They've been seeing these increased temperatures in their data. And I always tell our students, it's a really exciting time to be in science because you're getting to measure changes that haven't seen happen this fast for a long time. It's not so great to be a human, but to be a scientist, it's a pretty nice time to be doing this kind of stuff. So today I just want to briefly talk about 3 of our programs and just kind of highlight what I think are exciting about those programs or unique. So this is kind of the pipeline or how I think of our educational programs in Bigelow. And we have these sub-high school programs that we go out and visit these island schools, or we have local middle school students come to our lab, and we do some sort of lab or field component doc study. We spend the day with them. They don't often stay at the lab overnight. These high school students we attract, and they stay overnight. And so we have a high school program that's a very intense program, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We have an undergraduate program, and we have 2 of those. We have a semester program, and we have this summer REU program, which I'll discuss in a minute. And then we take them out, and we have these Bloom Educator programs, and we have multiple professional development programs at the lab. But I'm only going to talk a little bit about this one program. So the Bloom High School program, and it's unique because we study or we focus on the lower trophic level in this program. And so we bring students in, they're high school students, we bring them in and we teach them that in 1 milliliter of water, there's a whole ecosystem that's living in that drop. And going from 1/3 of a copepod to 1 million bacteria to 10 million viruses all live in there. And there's rapid turnover, and the whole base of that food chain is what supports this upper trophic level. And I think focusing at that low end of the food chain is really a unique aspect of one of the things that we do with our high school students. And there's our little Margalef organism. So there's 16 counties in Maine, and we try to attract 1 student from each county. These students don't know each other. They're all from different high schools, and we bring them in. Particularly in the rural states, these students often don't know anybody else that's interested in marine science. And so they come in. Our state is 1.5 million people in the entire state. So these students come in and they meet a whole cohort of students that have similar interests as theirs. And it builds really this wonderful collection of students within our state that find camaraderie. And they come and live at the lab for 6 days. And we take them out on a research cruise. We teach them how to read a chart. That's Nicole, how to read a chart. We teach them how to sample and collect for chlorophyll and go through the whole process. And we do 10 hours of time out on that water. And we visit these same 4 stations that we've been visiting for 30 years. They come back to the lab and they process their samples. They form hypotheses about what they're looking at, and then they give a presentation at the end of this day to 50 people, 100 people. And they're really well poised, and they do an extraordinary job. This 6-day process is 60 hours of contact time that they get with us, which is equivalent to about 1 hour of class for an entire semester if they were back home. So within that 1 week, they get this full immersion course, and they really develop ideas and begin to understand and process, and that immersion drives such rapid learning in these students. And it's really a fabulous program. So we're in our 30th year here. There are 480 students that we've had come to this program. And I bet there are a few of you out here that have participated in this program. And if you have, can you contact us? Because we're trying to put together a 30-year reunion. And it'd be great if we could just get an update. So we also have developed this high school teachers program. So whenever the high school program happens, there has to be teachers that write letters of recommendation. And the teachers are always writing to say, can I come and stay with the student? Can I stay there at the lab? We wish we had something like this. So in 2009, Nicole and I started the teachers program. And it does much the same thing. It brings all these teachers, we take them out sampling, we use different pieces of equipment, and we show them a little bit about the environment. And on the last day, we try to develop curriculum for high school education. So based on how they're working in the marine environment, we want to be able to take that home and reach the high school students that they touch. The cool thing about this program is that we've raised money to also develop these toolkits. And these toolkits, let me see if I can find that list. These toolkits have a whole suite of items in them, from hemocytometers to Secchi discs to nets to thermometers, cell counting, all of these kind of different apparatus. And we teach them to use this equipment in the exact same way so that their data is comparable. They can start to compare data. They can start to compare data across that scope. So this last program, and these are my last 2 slides. This last program is our research experience for undergraduate students. And again, this is one that's at the core is an REU site funded by NSF. Thank you, NSF, if you're out there. But we also get funding from a couple of other sites. Including we get money from NOAA, NASA, and a lot of private philanthropy. And so far we've hit 200 students. The beauty of this program, and I'm going to go quick to the chase here, is that at the end of the program, that's when all the people who mentor students transition from being a summer advisor to a mentor. And we have a lot of post-contact with our students. And this post-contact is really where that growth happens. And really, it's that developing that pipeline. So we've been around since 2009, and we call students to come back and participate in cruises. So we've had about 20 students participate in these long cruises up to 6 weeks. We've had students do publications, which means throughout the year, we're working with them on papers, and we've had about 2 publications a year coming through here. And we also take them to meetings. And we raised money for 80 students so far to bring them to meetings, and we cobble it together in any mechanism that we can. And we have 17 students here this year that have presented and have done an amazing job. I mean, I'm always so proud of the job that they do. So these students come here, so this is ASLO. Oh, this is Margalef. So these students come here, and they present at ASLO, and there are 3 sessions that they present at. And we had just about 200 undergraduate students present their data here at this meeting, which is about 10% of all of the presentations that have been here. And it's really a great push of bringing young scientists into this pipeline and bringing them through. So, in closing, I'd really like to thank ASLO for this award. It is a meaningful award to me, and I appreciate that. But I also want to thank ASLO for just recognizing education and the importance of education and making a home for these undergraduates that they can come in here and mingle with us, expand their horizons from just being a national group of students that they know to an international group of students that we know. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.